What if you could capture the entire state of our world in just a single day? Well, that day might just be April 8th, 2026. Because on one hand, you have this massive breakthrough for peace, something that could stop a huge war in its tracks. And yet, on the other hand, you can feel the rumblings of new conflicts, of these deep societal divides. It's like a snapshot of a world just holding its breath. All right, so let's get right to the biggest headline, the one that basically stopped news cycles all over the globe. The United States and Iran, they've agreed to a temporary truce. Now, think about this. After 40 straight days of intense conflict that literally pushed the region to the absolute brink, this is that one moment of cautious optimism everyone was so desperately waiting for. But here's the thing. If there's a ceasefire in one of the most volatile regions on the planet, why does the air still feel so thick with tension? You know? Why does it all seem more fragile than ever? That's the big question we're going to try and unpack here. And this is where things get, well, messy. See, this isn't some simple peace treaty. Not at all. It's this incredibly complex picture where it feels like for every single step towards de-escalation, there's an equal, opposite act of defiance. I mean, the stakes just could not be higher. This quote right here from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he absolutely nails it. Yeah, he welcomed the ceasefire, but listen to the words he used. A regional conflagration. That tells you everything you need to know about just how close to the edge everyone felt they were. Okay, this right here, this is the whole paradox of April 8th in a single snapshot. On one side, you see real, tangible progress. A truce is called. The Strait of Hormuz, which is so vital for global shipping, is reopening. That's huge. But then you look at the other side of the ledger, and the conflict is not over. Israel has come out and said very clearly that this truce doesn't apply to its operations against Hezbollah. And get this, airstrikes hit Beirut today. It's this exact contrast that shows you just how fragile this whole thing really is. And Washington is adding some serious economic muscle to make this truce stick. President Trump has drawn a very clear line in the sand. He's proposed a whopping 50% tariff on any country that supplies weapons to Iran during this 2-week window. It's a huge economic threat, right? The whole idea is to enforce the ceasefire using financial pressure. Now, this whole idea of push and pull, of one step forward, one step back, it's not just happening in the Middle East. If we go halfway across the world, to the Asia Pacific, we're seeing a very, very similar and tense dynamic playing out. And here we go again. You see that exact same contradiction. On one side, you have this really significant diplomatic effort underway. Taiwan's KMT leader is actually going to Beijing to meet with Xi Jinping. It's a high-stakes meeting all about trying to lower tensions. But then, at the very same time, what happens? North Korea conducts its 6th ballistic missile launch of the year. It's just pure defiance. Dialogue and defiance, literally happening side by side. So, okay. What does all of this geopolitical tension actually mean for people and for countries that are far away from the front lines? Well, it creates these economic ripples that, honestly, touch everyone. The cost of all this instability, it's truly global. Just look at Bangladesh. They've formally asked the UN to delay their graduation from least developed country status. And you know why? Because of the severe economic strain caused by, you guessed it, these exact kinds of global conflicts. This is a direct, measurable impact. Events happening in the Middle East and Asia are actively shaping the economic future of a country in South Asia. And yet, even with all this global strain, there are these little pockets of success. For instance, Myanmar just reported record rice exports. For them, that's a rare economic bright spot. It's just a powerful reminder that these big global trends, they don't always tell the whole story for every single country. Then you jump over to the other side of the world to Madagascar, where they've just declared a 15-day state of energy emergency. It's another really stark example of how these global pressures can expose and even worsen a country's internal problems. In this case, we're talking about a nationwide power crisis that's affecting millions of people. And of course, this kind of instability doesn't just stay at the level of governments and economies. No, it seeps down deep into societies. It creates these intense internal pressures, and most importantly, it comes with very, very real human costs. These pressures can also push along major legal and social shifts. Right now in the US, a really big story is unfolding around something called speech-based conversion therapy. Now, before we even get to the ruling, it's super important to understand that this practice has been at the absolute center of a fiery national debate, really a debate about the limits of free speech. And today, the Supreme Court delivered its verdict, and it was decisive. In a sweeping 8-1 ruling, the court struck down laws that had banned the practice. Their reasoning was that when it's just about speech, just talk between a counselor and a patient, it is protected under the First Amendment. This is, without a doubt, a landmark decision with huge societal implications. And that human cost we were talking about, it's being felt so acutely all over the globe. In Haiti, for instance, high-level talks are happening right now to try and get a handle on the rampant gang violence that's just gripping Port-au-Prince. And at the same time, in the Mediterranean, a devastating humanitarian crisis just continues to unfold as migrants try to make that incredibly dangerous sea crossing. And this number, coming from the International Organization for Migration, it's just devastating. The death toll in the Mediterranean for 2026 alone is already approaching 1,000. Think about that. 1,000 lives lost at sea. It's just a heartbreaking reminder of the ultimate human stakes of all this global instability. So yeah, it really all comes back to that fundamental question, doesn't it? We talk about all these things: conflict, economic strain, social divides. What is the real, tangible human cost of it all? But even on a day that is filled with so much tension, humanity is also looking forward. We're pushing the boundaries of science, and we're coming together over a shared love of sport. And that's a really crucial and hopeful part of the story of April 8th. I mean, check this out. In a moment of just pure scientific achievement, NASA's Orion spacecraft successfully completed its flyby of the moon. After a 10-day journey out there, today it actually started its trip back to Earth. This is a huge milestone for the Artemis 2 mission, and really for all of human exploration. And then, back here on Earth, the world is getting ready for a massive party. We are just 2 months away from the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Host cities all across the US, Canada, and Mexico are officially kicking off their fan events. It's a great sign of that global anticipation and just a cool reminder of the things that can still bring us all together. So we kind of end up right where we began, looking at this one single day, a day defined by truce, by tension, and by technology. On the one hand, you've got fragile peace and incredible scientific marvels. On the other, you have simmering conflicts and real human tragedy. So the question I want to leave you with is this: are we watching the world find some kind of new, complex balance? Or is everyone just holding their breath, waiting to see what happens next?